What did she think was going to happen when she left these two kids with a stranger in this car with no gas? She didn't care. And I will share with you a story so you'll have an understanding, because most of you haven't been to these conferences with these neurosurgeons come in and talk about the effects of methamphetamine. And so they run these tests on rats, poor little rats, to basically copy and mimic the effects that methamphetamine has. And so if the rat hits us at a lever, he gets this feeling like, hoo-hoo, it's like meth. And those poor rats died because they didn't want food anymore. They didn't want sex anymore. They didn't want sleep anymore. Just hit the lever, hit the lever, hit the lever, hit the lever, until their poor bodies were worn out. This is I didn't make this up, guys. This is what meth does to you. Okay? Now, just so you think that this is not from a philosophical ivory tower that I'm talking about, one of my 4 children was a prodigal. And I hope I don't have to explain what a prodigal is to you. But he got involved with meth. Okay? And as a result, he spent 4.5 years in prison. I have seen in my own family what meth does to people. And it's scary, guys. So meth, is probably one of the more serious things, because as my son once said, you don't take meth once as an experiment. If you take it once, you're basically hooked. You become an addict, right? So, but other stuff, I'm putting that in a separate category. But other stuff like we weren't taking the kid to the doctor, the kid's been missing school, the kid's been sick, and we didn't, that kind of stuff, that neglect stuff. They, once you take the dog away from someone and say you've been a bad dog parent, they get it. Most people really get it, yes. It's almost, you're really going to think I'm a little off, maybe, that's okay. Because it's almost like something that happens in a spiritual kind of way. It really is. Because it's like I realized I have sinned, okay? And I want to repent and get back on the right road, okay? The people who don't realize they've sinned, they could care less, right? I'm on the road I want to be on, and it's a fun road, right? But the people who realize they have made a mistake as a parent, they'll do whatever. And if we can adjust that a little bit and monitor that, we can get their kids safely home. We don't need to wait 6 months or 9 months to get babies back into the arms of their mothers. Really, 6, 7 times out of 10, we can get them home sooner. The department is like, no, they haven't finished this. They haven't finished their anger management yet, so we can't send them home. Or some reason. Everyone understands it. Some of you may be new to CASA, so you might not understand how some of these procedures work. But to me, it's like the department is pushing to keep them longer. In my heart, I'm hoping CASA is pushing to keep them less long out of the arms of their parents. Why? Why do I feel that way? Because it's one of the most psychologically traumatic things that can happen to kids. There are studies that show separating kids from their parents is more emotionally traumatic for them than being physically abused. Okay, does everyone understand that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like mind-boggling. What do you mean by that? Well, I mean, if a dad and mom leave bruises on a kid, that hurts, and that's going to have lasting effects. But you take a child away from the 2 people they're bonded to and put them with a stranger for months and months at a time, that's going to have a more serious effect. And for those of you who've been around a while, and some of you may have these cases now, what happens? Well, you take a kid away from the parents, right? And here's what they think. If I act bad enough, if I act out bad enough, they had to put me back. But that's not what happens. They move you to another home. I mean, look at these placements for these older kids. Basic foster care, intermediate care, psychiatric hospital, group home, residential treatment. It's like a progression of getting worse. Are we helping those kids? I don't know. I'm not saying that facetiously. I don't know if we're helping, but it doesn't seem that way to me. It doesn't seem that way to me. Would they have been worse if we'd sent them home? We'll never know. You know? It's not like we have a vaccine and what's the other thing called if you're not getting the vaccine? You're getting the other thing that doesn't do anything. What is that? What?
Placebo.
The placebo. Yeah, we don't have an experiment where we can do like a placebo kid and the regular kid, right? We just have the kids that we've dealt with. You know, well, we're going to put this kid back home and keep this kid out, and we'll see which one ends up better. But we can't do that, right? So, and I will tell you, I represent the department. That means I'm the department's lawyer. And I'm going to do what the department basically wants the judge to do. I'm going to argue for that position. So even if you said to me, look, don't you realize that this is what's better? That's the argument you make to the judge. You know, to me, I am an advocate for my client. You know, and I understand that's a hard concept to grasp sometimes. It's like, even I have a hard concept like some of these defense attorneys where their client has killed 10 people on a video in front of 40 eyewitnesses. It's like, well, how can you represent that guy? Because that's my job, right? I'm making sure due process is followed, right? I'm making sure that the state does have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that my guy's guilty. And they're going to do it. There's nothing I can do to stop that, all right? But my job is to represent the department. But keep in mind, the whole, and I'm kind of I don't know how much time I have. How much time do I have?
Until 7.
I get to speak till 7. I could probably do that, but I'm not sure I'm hungry. Well, first of all, someone brought in some pizzas. You can eat while I'm talking. It's not going to offend me any. Can you, I mean, if y'all are hungry, start eating now. I mean, it's because like otherwise you're thinking, well, he shut up so I can have something to eat.
It's 6:30. Sorry.
What?
6:30.
Okay, and then you eat at 6:30. Okay,
Yes.
I can make it. You know, I hope with all my heart, seriously, that you are comfortable when you go to court. Because most people aren't. Most people are intimidated by the whole process, even when you're wearing the white hat, if you will, okay? Because it's an intimidating process. Lawyers get intimidated by the process. Because here's this person that has all this power, and, you know, am I going to say the right thing? Am I going to put the right evidence in? Am I going to make the right argument that, you know, they're going to go with my side? I don't feel that way. I mean, I will do the best I can, but I don't get upset if it goes against me. You know, I really don't. Why? Because I think it's in God's hands, and God is moving these cases the way He thinks they should go, right? I mean, that's my belief, anyway. And here's the other thing that's a little, it's a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, I have a tremendous amount of experience in child protective services. You know, maybe too much, I don't know. But, you know, when I came back to work, and I'll tell you this sincerely, I didn't come back to work for the money. I mean, the state's giving me a nice retirement. I get Social Security now. And my wife worked for the Department of Defense when she retired. She worked at Fort Hood as a psychiatric social worker, which is probably about as hard sometimes as what y'all are doing, because she worked with soldiers coming back from the war zones and trying to heal them. And I will tell you, as upset as she got about cases that she saw as a social worker for CPS, the first time one of her soldiers committed suicide, too emotional. Anyway, so she retired from Department of Defense. You know, we make a nice living. I'm not in this for the money. I'm really not. I'm not in it for the glory. I'm sure not in it because it's a career that I'm looking forward to. I'm basically the end of that kind of stuff. I'm doing it, one, because I believe in what the department does. I believe children need to be protected. And two, because I want to help them in their mission. And three, I want to be kind. Believe it or not, I spent years not being kind. And it haunts me. It haunts me. And when I say not being kind, what's the worst thing you can say about a judge? Let's see if anybody has the courage to tell. What's the worst thing you could say about a judge? Go ahead.
They just don't care.
They don't care. Number one, they're arrogant. That's the word that you get the star because they're arrogant. You can't tell them anything. They've already made up their mind what's going to happen, right? And I plead guilty to that. I was arrogant. You know? Not that this is, it's like, tell it like it is, brother. Give us your... No, I mean, I was an arrogant judge. And I thought I knew best. You know? And obviously there were times when people could change my mind, and that's good. And I always thought, though, that what I was doing was best for children. But looking back on it, again, you're not sure sometimes. You second guess yourself. It's kind of like, for those of you, everyone has seen, the Christmas Story, right? Charles Dickens, Tiny Tim, Scrooge. How many people actually read Charles Dickens? How many read the book? Okay. So in it, it's incredible, right? Because Marley comes back, and you never see this in the TV or the film version, but Marley comes back in the story, and Scrooge says, "Hey, Marley, what are you doing with all those chains on you?" And Marley says, "These are the chains that I have to wear from all the misdeeds and the things I could have done to help people in the world." I'm kind of paraphrasing this. But Scrooge says, no, you were great. You were a great businessman. And Marley gets upset and he says, look, there's the business of life. There's the business of helping people and caring for people. That's the business I should have been interested in. Not making money, helping people. That's why I wear these chains. Okay? And after 18 years as a judge, I have a few chains myself, okay? And that's whatever. Maybe they're self-inflicted chains, but they're there. And that's why when I see a bunch of people who do something, they want to be helpful, and they want to do good, and they really want to make a good difference in families' lives. It's refreshing. If I just came tonight and sat in the audience, I would feel better. I would. Because you get a little skeptical and cynical about people after a while. Especially lately. I mean, social media has turned us into a bunch of critics, right? I want to believe the best about people. And at my age, that's not easy anymore. But when I come to groups like this and I see people who are willing to do whatever they can to help, it's inspiring. So, since I'm almost out of time, are there any questions? Yes.
CPS, they come up with a family service plan.
Yeah, they have to under the law. Right?
They have to under the law. Does trial have to wait until the 12-month point? I mean, do we have to take it all? We have to give the parents a chance to redeem themselves?
See, that's what. There's nothing. If you're following the track. Right? It's like you have to do this. Well, no. I mean, if first of all, let's take a situation where the parents just disappear after the show calls. Yeah. And they're not doing anything. No, I'm not going to wait 12 months to see if they show back up again. Okay? So no, and in my court, we had these really serious injury cases. I'm like, why are we going through all this? Why are we doing this dance? Let's just set it for final. You want to convince someone that you didn't hurt your child, set it for a jury, and see if you can convince a jury. Otherwise, we need to put our feet down and give this kid a chance at a good home. So no, that's not a requirement. You can set it soon, but you're bucking the system. You're bucking the system. One of my favorite stories, and I used to tell this to parents in court. I would tell parents, and I said, it's not my story. I didn't make this story up. This is a story I read in high school. It was so powerful that I've remembered it all these years. And it's about a guy who decides, I'm going to kill myself. Life is dark and bleak and meaningless, and I want to end it all. And he decides the best way to do that, he's going to swim out to the middle of the lake. Some of you may even remember this. And until I'm too tired to swim back and I'll drown. Good plan. But as he's swimming out to the middle of the lake, he's looking around and thinking, well, this is beautiful. The way the sun is hitting the water and the way the trees are blowing in the wind, and I've got my family and my friends, and he makes this decision, I don't want to die. Life is beautiful. Life is amazing. But he swam too far. He swam too far. And I tell parents, don't swim too far. Don't think you can just avoid and neglect all these things and get to the end of this case and think you're going to get your kid back. Some of you have already swam too far in the case. You can't come back. You know, it's kind of the story is settled without you having any impact in it, right? That's a good question. Hopefully I answered that. It's kind of getting everyone on the same page that we need to go forward. Okay.
But CPS will always shoot for a year, right? And so as
well, that's because that's what they're trained.
Right.
And here's the other thing to remember. The purpose of this law, both from the federal sense that funds a lot of CPS and the state sense, the purpose of it is to try to reunify children. And so I don't care what the circumstances are, every permanency plan from the beginning will be reunification with the parents. You know, and until the parents show that they totally can't do it, it's not going to change to unrelated adoption or, you know, relative placement. It's going to be reunification with the parents because that's the intent of what the law is. And so I understand their position.
So as advocates, though, we're writing our court report, I mean, we should be saying, no.
No.
This mom already has a history of giving up
No,
6
or
kids,
on the other
so-
side, no, it's
No.
time to send the kids home. They don't need to be in foster care another 3 months. The mom, they've learned their lesson. They're showing this, and the kids are suffering.
Right.
The kids are suffering being away from them. So if you have on one side, kids are suffering, two parents are progressing, first of all, if nothing else, get beyond the hour a week. You know, and get inventive. When I say think outside the box, how can it get more than an hour a week? Well, the caseworker can't do it. Is there a relative, a friend, a neighbor, a minister, somebody who can supervise the department's okay with for more than an hour a week? Or, if worse comes to worse, Judge, I wanted to have 2 hours of family counseling. Well, the baby's only, 4 months old. What kind of, well, it gives them 2 more hours with the baby in the room. Okay, so you think outside the box. If we can't get the department to give them, how can we get more time with the parents and the kids?
Charles, there's also a question there.
Oh, okay. Hi, some people. I have a question. What kind of testimony can we provide? That's a good question. Here's one thing you can do. Most, especially Judge James, a lot of the other judges, they will ask the attorney whose burden it is to present the case, who are your witnesses? Well, most of us as prosecutors think, well, the judge is going to call on CASA anyway. But if you have something you really want to tell the court, call me. I'm going to give you my number in about a minute. Call me and say, can you make sure I'm called as a witness? I have something I really, you don't have to tell me what it is. And when the judge says to me, Mr. Van Orden, who are your witnesses today? I'll say, well, the caseworker, the mom, and CASA. So I can make sure you get out there with your message. All right, so here's my number, if everybody's ready. My cell number for the department is 713-319-4077. And my personal cell, because I'm sure none of you will abuse it, is 254, area code 254-718-6514. Now I will tell you, I'm on call 24 hours, so I almost always have my work phone with me. But if for some reason you're having a hard time getting through, like the other day, I didn't realize my phone had died. So after I got it back to life again, people said, where were you? We called and you weren't there. I'm like, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. My phone died because I was doing something else. Because I don't know if that answers part of your question. One way is to make sure you're called, and one way is to say the important stuff. And the important stuff is not always all the stuff in your reports, like I met with the caseworker twice, the child, it's like, what is a child, happy where they are? Okay. What a simple question, right? It is, I'm saying that facetiously. I had 4 kids. I didn't always know when they were happy. But I tell you something I did know. When they were unhappy, they made it real clear, okay? They made it real clear, whatever I'm going through, I'm miserable, And a lot of times, that's something you can pick up on. And what can we do to make you happier? And most people say, get me back home, right? Or let me have more time with my parents. I think it's so silly. that, you know, we don't tell parents, look, your 7-year-old, their T-ball game Saturday, come watch them. Why can't you? You're not visiting with them. You're like any other schmo there on the stand just watching kids play T-ball. When the kid has a medical appointment, why can't they go? They should be at every medical appointment. If they were parents, they would be, right? Right?
Right.
And here's the other thing. I don't know what the restrictions, I still don't. I mean, I work with Godspeed. I don't know what the restrictions are with you guys saying, hey, you know, my mom's only getting an hour a week with her 6-month-old baby. Judge, I'll take them. You know, I'll take them to McDonald's every Saturday and sit in the playground with them. Will you let me do that? And there isn't a judge out there that's going to say no. I don't want to break any CASA rules. Okay? I don't. But when you're thinking outside the box, sometimes you need to do that. Seriously. Anyway, hopefully that answers your question.
Can you repeat the last 4 digits of your business phone?
Sure. It's 713-319-4077. Okay? And don't be afraid to call me. I mean, I've worked for the department for years as a prosecutor. I'm working for them now again. So I probably haven't really gone very far in things. I've gone from being a prosecutor 40 years ago to being a prosecutor now. But I'm not afraid to tell you how I feel about stuff. I can't violate my oath as an attorney and not represent my client adequately. But I can certainly give you my opinion. Okay? And a lot of times these caseworkers, this is my last thing because I don't want to get, they feel a lot of times the way you do that things are going too slowly. But their supervisors and their program directors are saying, this is what you will say in court. And so what I always told people when I would have training, because every year I had training with caseworkers, with CASA, and with the defense bar. And I'd say, if you really want to know, if you have a sense the caseworker's kind of vacillating, and you say, what's the department's position? It's blah, blah, blah. And you say, wait, how do you feel about it? What do you think? Well, I'm not, what do you mean you're not allowed to say? Why can't you say? You're one voice among many. Give us your opinion, right? And they'll tell you their opinion if you ask them. And sometimes it's not the official policy, right? Which is either a good thing or a bad thing. Anyway, thank you so much. I hope you were able to learn something, if nothing else, to start with sure.
Okay, so dinner is important. So in the kitchen, there are boats of salad and there's pepperoni and cheese pizza. So grab a plate, grab a drink, grab a salad. There's salad dressing in there. And if you need anything else in the next little bit, let me know. And Elaine will be starting at 7 o'clock. Okay.
I'm gonna pass these out.
Y'all feel free to take a 30-minute
get
break,
back.
and we'll see you back in a little bit.
I took advantage of the snack basket.
Is this stopped, Janet? You can stop this camera?
Yes, please, thank you.
How? How does one stop this?
How does one stop?